Alright, good evening folks, and welcome back to Wilderness Wargaming. Tonight we're going to go into Games Workshop's newly released terrain rules for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. They've released a sample of the rules for that, explained what the concept is. So we are, as they like to say, breaking new ground. So let's get right into it. Okay, so they first off start off telling us battles 41st Millennium aren't fought in open fields or desolate parking lots, thank goodness. They're scattered with all kinds of foliage, ruins, craters, remnants of wrecked war machines. Terrain provides vital cover for advancing armies, and in the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, the rules are just as lean in the armies that fight among them. Okay, well that's good, because there was an insane amount of different terrain rules in 9th edition, and I think most of them just never got used. Especially since you could combine them in pretty much any combination on any given piece of terrain. Okay, terrain provides the benefit of cover rule to those units that can take advantage of it. In previous editions, this is adds 1 to saving rolls against range attacks, but this time there's an important caveat. So basically it's light cover from the old edition, which is, I think, the most common rule actually used. So that's fine. So having the benefit of cover will not improve the save that's already 3+ or better if the armor penetration of the weapon has a characteristic of 0 for armor penetration. So the unit will never have its save to improve to 2+ die terrain. Well, it kind of will, because technically speaking, the save isn't what's changed, it's the die roll by the armor penetration modifier. But what they mean is that functionally, you'll never have a save of 2 up from terrain alone. I suppose you can stack other things on there and get it, but it's not going to help you. AP is already 0 to be in the terrain, which is okay. That's no problem. AP 0 weapons are already going to struggle pretty heavily against heavily armored targets. Okay, so the benefit of cover rule: shattered ruins and twisted wreckage. The benefit of cover rule: shattered ruins and twisted wreckage offer much needed shelter from enemy salvos. Even heavily armored warriors, unfazed by small arms fire, are thankful for such cover when foes bring their heaviest guns to bear. Okay, and then it just reiterates what we already looked at. So that's the benefits. That is very good, because that means cover does exactly one thing, and we don't have to worry about which piece of cover does what. In the current edition of Warhammer 40,000 figure, requires one of 4 terrain categories and a table of 12 different terrain traits, with typical areas having from 1 to 6 features to keep track of. And there's going to be a note down below about that, apparently. The new edition slims that down significantly, with rules entirely determined by the kind of terrain you're using. Okay. Deciding whether a unit has benefit is simple, knowing which category for the crater, barricades, debris, hill, woods, or ruins. Okay, so there's 6 types, and they all do the same thing. Okay, so craters. Let's look at the first one here. This category includes other small patches of terrain, such as rubble. This category includes other small patches of terrain, such as rubble. It's the most simple type and functions like the area terrain of previous editions, granting cover to any infantry model standing wholly inside them. Even if the models are fully visible to the attacker targeting them, they get the cover. Okay. So, time we use this wholly on top of the terrain view, that model has the benefit of cover. So basically, so it's by model. Okay, so you would need to allocate. You would actually not be able to fast roll somewhere in and somewhere out, but all they have to do is stand on it and they get the benefit. Next up we have barricades. All sorts of terrain clusters, Unithium pipelines to ramshackle defense line. Any model within 3 inches can claim cover so long as the object partially obscures them from at least one of their attackers. As the thickness of a barricade can often make it difficult to put 1 inch of an enemy when charging from the opposite side, this terrain also modifies and to include models within 2 inches, providing an attacking unit on the other side of the barricade. So this is great for defense lines and stuff like that. And this is good because it looks like they're getting away from the silly, if you can see any part of the model, you can shoot at it nonsense, or at least for determining cover effects. We actually technically haven't seen the line of sight rules yet, but it seems like it's going in that direction. Okay. Barricades and fuel pipes. Okay, so there's something here for the charge. In the charge phase, if an enemy unit is within 1 inch of this terrain feature, charging on the opposite side can still make a charge move against the unit provided the charge is close as possible. This terrain feature within 2 inches of the enemy unit. So your charge actually becomes to the terrain feature, and within 2 inches of the enemy unit. So that could actually shorten your charge up quite a bit, kind of. nice. But it's also nice to see that they're taking account of the fact that you can't usually put your units on top of the barricade. Even if something you could climb over. You get a lot of wobbly model there. Fight phase units are eligible to fight, and models can make attacks with the unit opposite side. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to an infantry model that is wholly within 3 inches. That model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this terrain feature. That model is okay. So that, yeah, you have to be completely visible to every model in the attacker, or else you get it. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I guess that simulates troops like using crates or tree trunks or whatever as cover. Debris. Strain includes bits and pieces the unit can't end their move on, such as barrel statues, pieces of mech workshop parts. These confer cover when they partially block a model from the attacking unit, regardless of range or size. Each time a range attack is, if the model is not fully visible, this model has a benefit of cover against that attack. So very straightforward there also. Hills. Encompasses solid buildings. Okay, so hills and buildings are the same thing. Models and terrain features can sit on top of hills so they don't overhang the edge. That's kind of interesting, like debris, and the hill covers anything it partially obscures. So that actually, that's kind of a rule in setting up your battlefield. You don't want hills overhanging the edge. So I guess there's no little caves. This often results in dicey close range fire as the edge of the hill itself gets the wave units shooting up and down at each other. Okay. That model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of the strength of that model has benefit of cover against it. Okay. Woods. Woods, well, we know what woods are. I'm not... Woodlands. Yeah, trees. Got it. Okay, models and units that are wholly within this terrain feature are not fully considered to be fully visible to an observing model. Okay. So all you have to do is be inside of it. Similar, if a model is not wholly within the terrain feature, must look through or over the terrain. That is not wholly in must look through or over the terrain feature. So another model, and that model is never considered to be fully absorbed by the observing model, and so it will have the benefit of cover since terrain feature. Aircraft and towering models are exceptions to this. Visibility to and from such models is determined normally, even if this terrain feature is wholly in between them and the observing model. Models that are wholly within this terrain feature can see out of it normally. Okay, so you can hide in the woods and look out, but you get the benefit of cover. They're looking at each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model, if that model is wholly within this terrain feature or is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this terrain feature, that model has the benefit of cover against that attack. So that's a little bit more complicated, but not that bad. Ruins next up. So this is similar buildings, except these are ruined buildings. Makes sense because a lot of times it's just a few walls without a fully enclosed structure. Wrecked and damaged structures completely block visibility of all models. Oh yeah, I forgot. Before I get into that, the woods, yeah, aircraft and towering models are exception. So you don't have to worry about the windows. If you're standing completely on the opposite side of it, you're blocked. Otherwise, you can shoot in and out. They come with plunging fire, which improves armor penetration of the character's better range attack by one of them. Was more than 6 inches above ground level and shooting a target on the ground, making it a great way to get around other units' cover. Now, this is interesting. I can see situations where somebody's going to say, maybe you have a really tall piece of terrain, let's say like 12 inches or more, and they're shooting down at something that is off the ground. Even though it's more than 6, they're going to say, no, the target unit has to be on the ground, which is, I guess, what the rules actually say. Yeah, and it even says here in plunging fire, each time a model is wholly within this terrain feature makes a range attack. If that model is 6 or more vertically from ground level, every model in the target unit is at ground level. Improve the armor penetration by 1. Okay, so they do. You only get this not just being 6 inches above them, they have to be on the ground. Benefit of cover each time a range attack is allocated to a model if that model is either wholly within this terrain feature or it is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this terrain feature. That model has the benefit cover against that attack. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now I can see one interaction here, which if you had a hill, because a hill is technically part of the ground, it's made out of dirt or rocks or whatever, they could be at this. All you have to do is be 6 inches more vertically from ground level, and if the model, even if the hill is 6 inches high and they're at the same level as you because they're on the ground, you could get the armor penetration. And I know somebody's going to argue, well, the hill is a terrain feature, it's not ground level, but the problem is that the definition of the word hill isn't changed. So since there isn't a game definition for hill, we use the plain English definition, and hills are part of the ground. I guess we'll have to see how that's ruled. It might not be sporting to read it that way, but I'm sure somebody's going to try. Okay, and then little notes, not including invulnerable saves. So does not. Okay, so yeah, it's just reminding you that invulnerable saves don't get the benefit from cover. Okay, and then next, Okay, I'm going to skip to number 2, unless they have the aircraft or towering keywords. So just like with the woods, if something is aircraft or towering, they can't hide behind the woods. And then going back to, there were technically speaking over 12,000 possible terrain types. Yes, it turns out that when you have 4 categories and 12 types, and any given, and they can be combined in almost any combination, there were indeed about 12,000 possible combinations of features that a piece of terrain could have in 9e. I would venture to say that probably about 12 of them were very commonly used, and the other 11,988 were probably pretty rare, just given how often you actually, like, I don't think I ever saw some of the keywords used in a single game. But yeah, this is a great reduction in complexity because you only have 6 possible terrain types. They all do the same thing, it's only the conditions under which they do it that change, and most of them are pretty straightforward. The only ones that are a little bit wonky maybe are maybe the woods, the plunging fire from the ruins potentially, maybe the barricades because the charge rules a little bit. But they're not that complicated. They're not that inscrutable that you can't figure out what's going on. I'd say this is a real masterpiece in terms of reduction of complexity. We've gone from 12,000 down to 6, and that's pretty good. The rules are easy to read, easy to understand. I like a lot the fact that they've made tiny bits and pieces of terrain, like logs or fuel pipes or crates or whatever. Well, debris, yeah, debris, things like that. Combine things like hills and buildings basically do the same thing. I guess maybe you could go inside of buildings, but other than that, oh, hills and sealed structures, not all buildings. I guess other buildings would be ruins, even if they're actually complete. This is well done. It's easy to understand. It's efficient. It's pretty much, I think, what we want to see from 10th edition. Probably see more. We might see more rules tomorrow. Don't know. Maybe some more next week. Coming up, we're going to have more Inquisitor Martyr. We're going to have more Dark Tide. And I'm going to have the next camping and trips video, and then we'll see what comes up after that. Probably won't have a food video until next weekend because we have a lot going on this weekend. But anyhow, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and ring the notifications bell for more great Wilderness Wargaming content. And I will see you back here very soon.